Hello, happy Wednesday. So as you're watching this, it's going to be a couple of months after Christmas. As I scripted this, it was right around the holiday season. So while self-care is super important all year round, I think it's a topic that should be talked about a lot more, especially in the realm of realistic self-care. So this is not about taking week-long trips with your girlfriends to the spa or going on vacation to the beach for, again, 7-10 days. Those are really cool things. However, realistic self-care for the homeschool mom looks a little bit different than that during at least most seasons. And right now, we are smack dab in the middle of just going into the new year. If you're like me, you feel like you finally survived Christmas and got done with all the Christmas things. And now you are running full force towards whatever your goals are for 2025. Now, speaking of goals, most of us have a goal for our children to develop a sense of pride when it comes to how they go about their responsibilities and their education. The Homeschool Made Fun Academy contains all the tools to do just that. From chore charts to homework trackers and fun-themed sermon notebook pages, this pack has everything that you need to help your child develop the discipline of being a good steward. Now, normally this is $15 a month. I have a deal going on right now just for you guys. If you click the link down in the show notes area, you get the first month completely for free, and then each month that you choose to continue after that will only be $5. So head on over, click that link, and then come back and finish watching the video. Now, if you are somebody that you watch my videos pretty consistently, welcome back. I definitely appreciate your support. If you're brand new, welcome. I am Tanya Johnson. I'm affectionately known as the Holiday Homeschooler. So I love working with other homeschool parents and helping them put the fun back into their homeschool while keeping a biblical worldview a top priority. Now, speaking of a biblical worldview, self-care gets a bad rep sometimes, and I feel like the reason being is because a lot of people are either one extreme or the other. There's not a lot of very much in the middle when it comes to being an advocate for self-care. So either you're all the way on the left and self-care is looked at as something that is non-biblical, you should be becoming a martyr for your family and not being selfish, and it's just talked down so much that a lot of homeschool moms really fall into that trap of thinking they're supposed to basically be martyrs for their family. Or you come over here, and this is what most of the world practices, is self-care is a top priority. It's the priority, and it becomes very much a me-centered focus. We want to meet right in the middle, where self-care is something that not only is biblical, our bodies are temples, we're supposed to be taking care of them, but also practical. If we want to be the best version of ourselves for our husbands, for our kids, for the people we work in ministry with, then we have to be pouring into ourselves. If we're constantly running on an empty cup, there's nothing left to give to other people. So I want to go over 7 realistic ways that you can prioritize self-care as a busy homeschool mom without sacrificing, again, the biblical worldview, which is the lens that we try to view everything in our lives through. Now, number 1 is journaling. Y'all have heard me talk about this. If you've been on this channel, I will shout this from the rooftops until the day that I die. Journaling has kept my mental health in check for the last decade plus. It was a total game changer for me. It was something that I found when I was at a very dark time in my life. I do what's called Jesus journaling. If you go over to the blog, I have it linked for you step by step exactly how to do this. I prioritize a minimum of 30 minutes every single morning. This is a non-negotiable for me. It's something that when I set the tone for my day, I put my focus on Jesus and on gratitude, my day automatically is filled with joy no matter what the circumstances are. And this is a good life lesson to learn too. It's not something that I talk about a whole lot on this channel because it's something I typically teach to teenagers, but it is good to understand the difference between joy and happiness. Happiness is an emotion. It comes from outside circumstances. Joy is something that's inside and it comes from Jesus. So it does not matter what your circumstances are. You could be filled with sadness over something tragic happening in your life. And that is a very real emotion that absolutely should be felt. So you may not be happy, but you can still have the peace and joy that comes from Jesus. And starting your day off with this Jesus journaling is going to help you get that consistently. Now, number 2 is prioritizing sleep. I know all my homeschool moms just looked at me and said, what? But aside from my walk with God, which is included in my Jesus journaling, right? Like that is my number one priority, no matter what, when it comes to self-care. Number two is my sleep. Now, this does not mean I go to sleep the same time every single night. It doesn't mean I get up the same time every single morning, but I do try my hardest to stay within my sweet spot, which for me is a 6 to 6.5 hour window of sleep. Studies show lots of different things. You can get a sleep study done if you want to. I actually recommend doing that. That's a really smart way to figure out what your body needs for sleep. For me, it was a lot of trial and error and playing around with different windows of time, ranging all the way from the 6 hour mark all the way up to the 9 hour mark. And my sweet spot is 6 to 6.5 hours. Any less than that, and I'm honestly no good, but any more than that, once I hit the 7.5 mark, I don't know why, but I am pretty much groggy the rest of the day. And if I sleep beyond that, the chances of me waking up with a headache are very high. I don't know if that's because of my PCOS. I don't know I don't know the science behind it. I just know every person has their sweet spot. I know mine. And so if I stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning because I've got a lot of work to get done, or I stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning playing games with friends, that's okay. But I'm not going to set my alarm until 7:30 the next day. That gives me about a 30-minute window to fall asleep and then 6 hours to actually sleep and get back up. Same holds true for if I'm feeling really tired for whatever reason. Maybe we just had a long day. Maybe I'm a little bit under the weather, whatever the case may be. But if I decide, okay, I'm feeling really tired, don't know why, but it's 9 o'clock at night, it's time for bed, then I'm more than likely I'm going to set my alarm for about 3:30 the next morning. Now, the exception to this is, and I just said if I'm feeling under the weather, I'm tired. If I'm sick and I know that I'm catching something and that's why I'm tired, then I typically do sleep 8 to 9 hours, and I'm perfectly fine to do that. Like I don't wake up hurting or anything. The same with if I have a PCOS flare-up. Now, these are few and far between right now. I'm gonna knock on wood or do something. But there was a time when my flare-ups would cause me to sleep 12 to 15 hours, and I just could not get enough sleep. Now, since then, and we're gonna talk a little bit about this later, I've started certain vitamins and certain just different routines and nutrition and that kind of stuff. But you may have something like that causes you to sleep more in certain seasons, and that's okay. Give yourself permission to listen to your body and sleep. I'm going to talk a lot about listening to your body in this video. That is something that I did not learn until the last few years. It is not something I prioritized. It's something I used to beat myself up for. If I was feeling extra tired and wanted to go to bed early, or if I was feeling an extra burst of energy and wanted to stay up late, I demonized both of those. I very much was all or nothing. I had to be in bed by a certain time, had to be awake by a certain time. And I've really learned to just listen to my body, but I prioritize sleep. So if I stay up, then I get up a little later. If I am tired and I want to go to bed earlier, I'm absolutely allowed to do that. And then I just end up getting up a little earlier. So I just prioritize my sweet spot of sleep. And that has been huge for when you talk about self-care. Now, number 3 is having a solid nighttime routine. Now, 3 and 4, you're going to see I kind of flip back and forth between. So 3 is a nighttime routine. 4 is a good morning routine. Now, when I say flip back and forth, I push some things off or do some things the night before, depending on what time I go to bed. So if I'm going to go to bed early, for example, then I'm going to do the bulk of my cleaning first thing the next morning because I'm going to get up early. If I'm going to go to bed later, I'm going to make sure my house is clean so when I get up, I'm up and ready to start school with my daughter when she's getting up and ready. So I'm just going to go through a nighttime routine for me. This is what I would love to get done every single night before I go to bed. And that is clean my kitchen and the downstairs part of my house. Basically make sure my house is ready to go the next morning when I get out of bed. Take a bath, relax, read a book in there, put on clean pajamas, and go to bed. It's a very simple nighttime routine, but I love doing that. I love waking up the next day with a fresh house. And then after I have done all of that, before I actually go to sleep, I sit down and I write out my schedule for the next day. So typically 15 to 30 minute marks and what I'm doing for the entire day. Now that is honestly my only non-negotiable for my nighttime routine. If I'm not feeling it, it's like 6:30 at night and I'm like, you know what? I'm tired. I want to lay on the couch and watch a movie and then I want to go to bed. I'm not going to clean my house. I'm not going to take a bath. That's okay. I'm allowed to do that. I let myself do that. But I have to write my schedule for the next day because when I get up, I am not tempted to hit the snooze button if I know that every minute of that day is already accounted for. Now, here's what happens if I don't write out my schedule, because I have fallen into this trap. I wake up to my alarm. Let's say I go to bed at 10, so my alarm's set for 4:30. I wake up and I'm like, you know what? I can lay in the bed and I can scroll for a little bit. Next thing I know, it's been an hour and a half that I've completely wasted scrolling on my phone because I didn't have any of those minutes accounted for. So my non-negotiable is I make sure that I write out my schedule for the next day. And then lower on the non-negotiable list, I guess it's not a non-negotiable, but one thing I try to prioritize, even if I'm not going to clean the night before, I would say out of 7 days in the week, 5 of those 7 days, I at least start the dishwasher and start the laundry. So what I like to do when I get up is unload the dishwasher, so that way it can just be kind of filled up throughout the day. And then same thing, I like to switch over the laundry into the dryer, and then I can start another load real quick at night before I go to bed. Do I get that done 100% of the time? No. Is it amazing for my mental health and just keeping my whole self like very much less stressed trying to manage a household? Absolutely. So really the non-negotiable here is decide what your nighttime routine looks like. How do you function the best when it comes to making sure you're not stressed? And write those things down and strive to do them every single night. Now, here's one I say I flip. So what I like to do, like I said, go to bed with a clean house, wake up the next morning, and all I really have to do is get dressed, get ready for the day, make my coffee, sit down, do my journaling and my devotions, and then start school. I really love that routine. I've been liking going to bed a little later and getting up a little earlier. Now, if I'm not feeling it, I'm like, you know what? I'm kind of tired. I just want to go to bed, or I just want to watch a movie or whatever. That's fine. But then when I'm writing out my schedule for the next morning before I go to bed, then I make sure that I do that cleaning from the night before. So I take the first hour of my day, clean the downstairs real quick, and then I start a load of laundry. Now, I actually did this morning. So this week is a real good example of this, right? So Monday, I did my Monday reset, and I've been liking to do this. I'm going to do a whole video on a Monday reset at some point. I'm going to be consistent with it for a while and make sure it works for us first. But so I went to bed with a very clean house, except for this room. This room did not get touched, but everything else did. And it was honestly pretty amazing. But I went to bed with a pretty clean house. I'm trying to think what time I went to bed. You know what? I can look. I track this. I track my sleep. I could just look at my sleep log. So I went to bed. Okay, so Monday, I went to bed at 10, and I did not get back up until 7. Now, here's a prime example of why I write my schedule out the night before, because I went to bed Monday night. I had a very productive day on Monday. But when I went to bed, I did not write out my schedule for the next day. And so I woke up and I felt like I had nothing to do because my house was clean. Now, obviously, we have a lot more to do than just clean our house. But listen, this is how my brain worked, okay? Because I had my alarm set for 4:30. I woke up at 4:30. And then I crawled back in my bed and I started scrolling through, I call them TikToks, but it's Instagram Reels, but shorts. And I started scrolling. I scrolled for about an hour and a half. It was like 6 o'clock. And then I was like, I'm just going to shut my eyes for a few minutes. And then I woke back up at 7. So highly would not recommend that. But having said all that, all I had to do when I woke up on Tuesday morning was get myself ready for the day. We started school, all the things. Well, then we did a ton of school. We did crafts, we did game time. We had a lot of fun yesterday. I also had 2 tutoring students last night, so we had a lot of fun with those kids. And then when everybody was gone and we were all done with school, we had done a couple crafts to wrap up our night. We watched a movie. It was about 10. And I could have stayed up and done my cleaning because my kitchen was pretty messy. But I just kind of was like, I don't want to. I really just want to go to sleep, feeling a little bit tired. So I decided to sit down, write my schedule out. And then I woke up at 5:30 this morning. By the time I actually went to sleep, it was 11:30, 12, a little less than my 6-hour window. I tried to go to bed. I just, for whatever reason, I laid there and my brain kind of wouldn't shut off. But I woke up. I got up because I knew every minute was accounted for. Now, my brain did say, oop, hit snooze. You could just crawl in bed and scroll for a little bit, but I didn't. I got up. Wednesdays are my filming days usually, so it's even a little bit more hectic than just like a normal day. So got up, went downstairs, did my hour of cleaning. It was so nice to, again, start my daily tasks with a clean house. It doesn't matter if I do it the night before or the morning of, as long as it's done before I start my daily tasks, my brain just kind of like is zen the whole day. And that might not be the same for you. That's fine. The point is you get a morning routine and a night routine and you prioritize those and you stick to them majority of the time. Be flexible, listen to your body, but again, stick to your non-negotiables. So my non-negotiables are writing out my schedule the night before I go to sleep and then having a clean house before I start my tasks. So that could be I clean it in the morning, could be I clean it at night. It just depends on when I go to sleep. But I got my stuff done. I took a shower. It was hair washing day today, so I did that. Sat down, did my journaling devotions, had my coffee, talked to the rugrat for a little bit. We haven't done any school today because it is Wednesday. Typically we do school later in the afternoon before we head to youth group. But it was just overall like an amazing day. Now, when I get home from church tonight, I might decide to stay up and get some work done and clean the house. I might decide, you know what, it's been a long day, ready to go to bed, and then I'll get up early tomorrow. We will see. That is the beauty of having a nighttime routine and a morning routine that are flexible, is you always feel like you are stress-free because you're not rigidly holding yourself to a certain schedule. Now, number 5 on this list is daily moving your body. Now, this is something that I just recently realized we were not doing very well. Now, I work from home. We do homeschool. We are active in like our church groups and youth groups and homeschool co-ops, and we go out with friends and that kind of stuff. But until I started actually tracking my steps, I didn't realize how non-active my family was. Now, my daughter, I knew she was not as active as I wanted her to be, but I didn't realize how bad it was. So she's very crafty. We're a low screen family anyway, so rarely is she sitting around watching something or doing a video game or something. We actually don't have a game system, so I guess she doesn't ever play like video games, but she does have a couple games on her tablet. But rarely is she just sitting around, in front of a screen. So I did not realize how bad it was, but now that I'm thinking, it makes sense. She's very creative. She will sit for hours and do something crafty, which is amazing for her brain, not so much for like getting out and moving. So we decided to start walking. Now, again, when I scripted this was right after Christmas. We were or right around Christmas. I guess I scripted this a little before Christmas Day. So we were taking walks in the evening. Keep in mind, we're in South Carolina. Even when it's super cold, it was like, I don't know, like 45, 50 degrees. So hoodie weather for us, right? We're from Chicago. Like that's not super cold. So we would get a hot drink. Either it worked in our macros to have hot chocolate, or maybe we'd have hot tea that day or whatever it was. We would walk around our neighborhood. We'd do about a mile and a half, just leisurely looking at Christmas lights. It was so much fun for me. I don't know if it was for her. She's not a fan of walking. So that was the season that we were in. In the summertime, I am not walking around my neighborhood at 5, 6 p.m. because it is like 150 degrees. Not really, but it's so hot. So when I walk in the summer, I like to do it first thing in the morning, basically like right as the sun is coming up. And even that sometimes is like super muggy and I just don't want to be out there. But something I found out with my daughter is she doesn't like walking. Don't know why, but I'm not going to force her on it. I want her to learn to love moving her body, not to dread it every single day. So she loves doing dance videos. So while I take my 30 to 45 minute walk around the neighborhood, she's been doing a 30-ish minute dance video. Now in the summer, we move our body a lot because we swim pretty much every single day. And then right now we just signed up for the trampoline park membership. So we can go with friends. We go once a week for 2 hours and she jumps and moves her body that way. So whatever it is, prioritize moving your body. It releases endorphins. There's a whole bunch of other science behind it that like is really good for your mental health. Prioritize moving your body. Doesn't have to mean joining a gym. It doesn't have to mean going on walks like I'm doing. It doesn't have to mean swimming. It can mean whatever you want it to mean, but prioritize moving your body. Even if it's just 30 minutes a day. Number 6 is going outside. The sun does something to you. I don't know what it is, but it does something to you. Now, this could be incorporated with number 5. If you're moving your body outside, you're getting your outside time. But you may be moving your body in a gym or, in an indoor pool or in a trampoline park or whatever. We have lived in every extreme when it comes to weather. So I grew up in New Mexico If you know anything about New Mexico, it is super dry. It is super hot most of the time. Like we literally would have heat advisories during the day, certain times where you weren't supposed to really be outside unless you had to be because so many people were getting heat stroke. So I grew up in that environment. I moved to the Chicago area when I was 16 to start college. I met my husband there. We ended up living there married. We were 8 years there. So we dated for a year before that. And then I was in college for 5 years. Don't judge me. It took a little bit longer. So 14-ish years in that environment, which if you know anything about the Chicago area, it is super cold, like blizzard style weather in the winter months. There's not really a spring. There's not really a fall. It goes from really cold to really hot. And then it's super humid and hot for however many months out of the quote unquote like summer and fake summer. So there was that extreme. And then we live in South Carolina now where it's really hot in the summertime, but it's pretty bearable, honestly, during like the quote unquote, their cold months. It's really nice. So having said all of that, I have done like walks around our neighborhood in literally negative degree weather, super bundled up just to get some sunshine. I have done lots of swimming, lots of beach trips to get the sunshine when it's so hot you don't want to be anywhere unless you're able to get in the water. And then I've done super awesome fall days where I'm able to open up my garage, sit in the garage with like a table, drink my coffee, do my devotions while it's pouring down rain outside. So whatever it is, get outside. That might be walking around your garden. That might be sitting on your back porch, drinking a cup of coffee. That's what I really enjoy doing. It might be taking a walk. Whatever it is, get yourself outside, get some of that vitamin D and the happy hormones whatever the happy hormones are that it produces. There are lots of ways to enjoy being outside no matter what the weather is, but whatever you decide, just know that studies have shown, and you can look this up yourself, that being outside and being in nature, even just for just a little bit every single day, drastically increases your mood. Now, number 7 is fuel your hobby. Now, again, you're like, Tanya, my hobby, I don't even have time to like keep my kids in clean clothes. If you find yourself in a season where you are dreading motherhood, like it's just, you don't like it. And that's okay. Like I've had moments I don't like motherhood. I don't like all of the work that comes with it. Then you need to fuel your hobby. Even if it's once every other week, you ask your husband to parent. I don't even like saying babysit because like you're a dad. You're not babysitting your kid. You're just being a dad. Ask him to watch the kid for a couple of hours while you go take a pottery class. Or you go hike around the beach if that's something you want to do and you have like really little kids that just wouldn't be a fun thing to do with them. Maybe you really like baking or cooking, but you don't really like doing it with little ones all around you. Wait till they go to sleep once a week and bake some things. Now, if you are like, man, I love being a mom. I love spending all the time with my kids. I really don't have time for anything else, but I'm like really enjoying this season. There's no need to add any kind of hobby. I'm not talking to everyone on this. There's gonna be plenty of times to fuel a hobby when your kids are grown and gone and you can never get this time back with them. I personally don't really have a hobby right now. My hobby kind of is teaching and a little bit of crafting and stuff that I like doing with my daughter. But I'm talking to those of you who you are a little depressed. You don't really enjoy motherhood. And again, there's no shame in that. I've been in those seasons. I'm just saying I'm not in those right now. Now, when I've been in those seasons, one of the hobbies that I enjoy is like scrapbooking / card making. Now, my daughter is 10 now. So that season has kind of come and gone because now she's old enough to do some of that with me. So if I start feeling depressed and kind of like just chomping at the bit to do something different than the mundane everyday life, then I schedule in a card making or a scrapbooking day and we do it together, or we do it like separately but in the same room. Like those are the days that we'll let ourselves veg out and she can watch something on her screen, I can watch something on my screen, and we just have like what we call a mental health day. So again, I'm not shaming anybody who is like, man, I'm just not loving motherhood right now. I'm just telling you I'm not specifically in that season, but I've been in that season. And there's a lot of reasons for this, but the number one reason that I always remind myself to do something that makes me enjoy motherhood is because we're raising our own kids. And especially if you're raising daughters, our daughters are already going to see on social media, as soon as they're old enough to get social media, how motherhood is such a mundane thing and it's not fun. And right now the culture is day drinking to get through motherhood, which I think is complete garbage, but it's on there. So you don't want them getting all of those same feelings from inside their own house. You want them looking at motherhood like the privilege and the joy that it is. Are we happy every single minute of every single day? Yeah, no. Can we find joy in serving Jesus through motherhood every single day? Absolutely. And that is one of the main reasons I wanted to make this video, not to shame anybody, not to make anybody feel bad for not feeling like they love motherhood or feeling like they're prioritizing themselves, but to show you that you really can have the best of both worlds. You can prioritize self-care. You can love being a mom. You can love being a wife. You can love the mundane every single day of starting laundry and putting away dishes. And there's little things that you can do to really make this, I mean, for lack of a better term, your dream job. And that is something that I never thought I would embrace. But I can honestly say that I have found my dream job, and that is being a wife and a mom in the season that I'm in. And I really hope that every single one of you finds that. Now, that brings me to my last two things. And I know I said 7 things for, self-care for a realistic mom. So the last 2 things are not things everyone's going to need. But if you are doing 1 through 7 consistently and you're never happy. And again, joy and happiness are different, but if you're doing all those things and you're never happy, you're always sad, you're always kind of feeling depressed and anxious, then there's something else that's wrong. So one of 2 things, or both, honestly, I'd probably do both. One is go to therapy. There is a lot of wisdom that comes from going to somebody who's been trained in the mental health field. I know there's still a little bit of a stigma around this, especially in the Christian world. That's okay. To each their own, right? They don't have to agree with you. But there is a lot of good that can come out of talking to somebody in your dark season. Again, I know I've been there. I've done the therapy thing multiple times in multiple seasons, and it works every single time. So go to therapy. And then the second thing I put down, if you're doing 1 through 7 and you're still feeling very off, is get on a good vitamin regimen. Now, I'm not talking about going and buying, $200 worth of Plexus products or whatever your local MLM Facebook dealer is selling in that moment. I'm saying go to a doctor. Now, this can be a holistic doctor. That's personally what we use. But go get a blood panel done. Go see what your body is actually lacking. Now, I'm not anti-MLM. I don't sit here and talk about you never should support your friends and what they're selling. But here's what I've seen. I've seen people on social media, moms on social media, and I don't think they're doing this maliciously. I think they just don't have the education behind it. I didn't have the education behind it. I sold for an MLM for a while. We did all the top trips and we made a lot of money doing it. And I found some products I really liked. But what I also saw were people talking about these do-all, end-all, magic vitamins and magic drinks. And I still see this. Take this and it basically cures your whole life. It makes you a millionaire. Worst case scenario, you give your body something it doesn't need and you make it sick. You make it worse. Best case scenario, you throw a few things at your body, something is sick, something might not, but you're spending a whole ton of money on things that you don't really need. So there was a product in the MLM that I sold for that was like a B12 pixie stick. It was amazing. I loved it. However, I was taking it and I was selling it to everybody, right? This was the magic thing for all the moms. All the moms needed this. Now, what I didn't know is my body was starving for B12. I didn't find that out until I went to a doctor a couple of years ago, got a blood panel done, and realized that was one of the things I was really low in. So if you go get a blood panel done and you need something that a friend sells, take it to your doctor. Say, hey, you said I needed B12. This, will this work? Is this something you would recommend? And if they say yes, yeah, go take it. I would not just go buy random things on the internet though. Just gonna throw that out there, okay? What I ended up getting myself on was vitamin D, some kind of fish oil. I don't even know all the stuff she put me on, but I know when I got my blood panels done, there were several things my body just kind of, and again, I do have PCOS, so this probably is not going to be extreme. When you go and get your blood panel done, you might need 1 or 2 things. Even though we were in the sun, literally daily swimming, my body was super low on vitamin D. My iron was completely gone. I had pretty much no trace of it in my body as far as the stores of it, your body stockpiles iron. And then it was also not absorbing iron from the food that I was taking, even though I was doing a high iron diet on purpose because I knew my iron was low. And I was doing liver and onions every single day, and my body just wasn't absorbing any of it. My body does not make progesterone. It doesn't produce very much estrogen, but it produces a lot of testosterone. My adrenal glands don't work very well at all, and apparently haven't for a while, according to like what she saw in the test. So I was put on several different things that were all natural, all vitamins, but for years I threw random things that I found on the internet at it and probably made it worse. She said that there's no evidence that you can like tell for sure, but made it worse, not in the fact that like these products did anything to me. It was that I prolonged actually taking care of the situation to where I could have fixed it sooner and it had been less drastic than it was by the time I caught it, because I just kept throwing all these MLM products at it. So anyways, long story. I mean, it was pretty long, but get yourself a good blood panel done. Get yourself some good healthy vitamins if you, again, are doing 1 through 7 and you're still just feeling like you're off. So again, y'all, self-care gets a bad rep. Really all it is prioritizing your sleep, prioritizing your mental health. Yeah, if you have the time and the money to go, plan a spa day with friends, go for it. Go get pedicures whenever you want them. Go get your hair blown out. Like, I'm not saying you can't do all of that stuff. I'm saying this video specifically was realistic self-care for the busy homeschool mom. Realistically, most of us are not going and getting mani-pedis once a week while our kids are, I don't know what, running around the salon trying not to break bottles of nail polish. Now, again, my kid's to the point where I could take her and get mani-pedis if I want to. Do I want to go spend, I don't know, $65, $75, $100, whatever it costs to get? When I was going and getting them consistently, I was spending anywhere from $75 to $125 for hands and feet, and that was including the tip. But I stopped getting them done consistently probably 8 years ago at this point. Started doing my own hands, started doing my own feet, because I wasn't wanting to spend that much money every week. And then I also had a really little one at home, so I wasn't trying to, find pockets of time when my husband wasn't working to go disappear for a few hours every week. So I'm assuming it's probably a lot more than that now. I don't honestly know. And I guess it wasn't every week either, because I was going every other week. I would get a pedicure every single time, and then every other week I would get like a fill for my nails. And then typically once a month, I was getting them completely redone because my hands were in water so much, I think it just broke them down. I had heard that they could last a lot longer than that. And like you could prolong it with getting the fillings, but mine never did that. So they looked good. So I don't know, but they did not last, as long as I thought they were supposed to last. But again, my hands were also in like dishwater and stuff every single day. So that probably was why. But anyways, having said all of that, if you have any favorite self-care things that you like to do as a busy homeschool mom, let me know down in the comments, and I will see y'all next week or the week after that. Not 100% sure yet, but it'll be a Wednesday when the video drops, sometime in the next 2 weeks. We're going to talk about meal prepping and meal planning the lazy genius way, so you do not want to miss that one. See y'all later.